Kendrick Bourne in the doghouse played, 2 snaps on Sunday. Tom Curran reported today that Kraft was not happy, let his feelings known about Bourne not playing as much as he thought he should play. I have a couple of thoughts on this, Greg, but before my thoughts, let's get to yours.
Yeah, I mean, look, this has been a summer-long thing with Kendrick Bourne. Something's been going on. I think it's partly his fault. I mean, look, if he was late for a meeting, as Tom reported, that can't happen. Does he need to really be punished 3 weeks later or what have you, 4 weeks later, whatever it is? I think there's some debate about that. But look, there's been a disconnect with Kendrick Bourne even before that. And I think that's the crux of the issue that I think we've touched on it before, but Kendrick Bourne is the type of player that has to be brought along, has to be coached a certain way. And I think the Patriots were able to. He was a new player to them last year. I think Mick Lombardi, the receivers coach, Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, and others were able to identify how they needed to go about things with Kendrick Bourne. And is that still happening? Is this coaching staff as concerned about that stuff, or are they more of a, you're getting paid, you're a professional, do your freaking job, I shouldn't have to hold your hand type of thing? That could be part of it as well. But whatever it is, look, it was evident to everybody watching the game on Sunday that the Patriots, A, didn't have enough playmakers on the field, B, wasn't putting the ball into the hands of their playmakers, and having Kendrick Bourne on the field and being an important part of the offense, that would help a lot in terms of playmaking ability.
Number of things. Patricia and Judge's history as head coaches precedes themselves here. Not a lot of players, especially at the very beginning of both of their tenures, were in love with playing for those guys. There are a lot of questions coming out of New York. And if you saw Brian Daboll this past weekend, already it feels like the Giants have a much better coach than when they had Joe Judge. But, he didn't always rub people the right way. Matt Patricia did not rub people the right way in Detroit at times. The Darius Slay thing was a big issue and resulted in Slay being traded. He was their best player, especially on the defensive end. And he and Patricia did not see eye to eye. So I think those questions are legitimate questions about the coaching staff and whether or not they can feel players and understand where they're coming from and coach them to the best of their ability, and whether they care or not about coaching those players to the best of their ability. Second thing, I notice a lot of people siding with Kendrick Bourne, and I tweeted this out earlier today at Nick C Radio. This is driving me flipping nuts. I'm not telling you Bourne's a bad guy, right? But how many times have we seen Belichick and his coaching staff discipline guys for going against team rules, for violating team rules, for violating team policy? And it seems to me that the people that years ago would be like, yeah, Bill, that's right, you got to draw the line, right? Discipline, do your job. They were fine with that kind of stuff when the team was winning and when the offense looked better. Now, when the team is losing and the offense doesn't look good and you lack explosion, now people want to turn around and go, oh, what the hell? You're gonna play the guy 2 snaps for missing a meeting? Wes Welker missed a portion of a playoff game because he talked about feet at a press conference. Like, we have to stay consistent. Greg mentioned this last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago. Have we changed, or has the team changed? Have the expectations changed? And when you look at this, Kendrick Bourne was late for a team meeting. They decided that he needed to be punished. I know people say, well, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. My take on that? Who cares if you punish somebody, quote unquote, during the preseason? You think Kendrick Bourne, you think the message is going to land if you sit Kendrick Bourne in a preseason game? You think the message is going to land because you send him home from a joint practice? No. If you want the punishment to land with the person who violated the policy, you do it when it matters. You do it when it counts. So you wait until week 1 because that's the game that matters. Because Kendrick Bourne, guess what? Wants to be out there. He wants to be targeted when the games matter. So that's why you take 3 or 4 weeks. The preseason means nothing. So you wait until the moment where it really will affect and impact the player and hope that you get the most out of him moving forward. And he doesn't skip a practice or a meeting, or he doesn't show up late to a meeting, because the next time he won't go, oh, what am I going to miss, a preseason game? Yeah, big deal. No, you're going to miss a game that matters. The last thing I'll say about this, I don't like Robert Kraft meddling. And I've been consistent about this no matter what team or sport you're talking about. If the owner is the GM, okay, maybe they weigh in on something like a Jerry Jones. But Robert Kraft has been consistent the entire time with Belichick here. He was not going to meddle. He was not going to get in the way of playing time. He was not going to get in the way of coach discipline. And I feel like the owner should stay out of these things. If you want to weigh in on a player's discipline, then get rid of the coach if you don't trust him and how he's handling the players. You have to, as an owner, to me, sit back and do what your job is. And I do not like when owners meddle. And I think Kraft, however it was disseminated to Tommy Curran, Kraft getting kind of in the way and getting involved in this in week one, not a fan of it. Owners, be owners. Let your coaches worry about the team and let your coaches worry about the discipline. And if you don't like what they're doing, then fire their ass. If you don't fire them, then you live with what you've got. It's not your job to be doling out discipline for wide receivers, okay? It's not your job responsibility. As much as I love Robert Kraft as an owner, guy's awesome. He rocks. There's no doubt about that. But I don't like owners meddling, Greg.
Look, Nick, you raise a bunch of valid points. And, they just when you were talking about it, and first of all, I think it's a valid point about, real punishment. And, we don't know the circumstances, so it's hard to argue about it. But I do think that's valid. And especially if maybe, and judging from the demeanor that we've seen of Kendrick in the last few weeks, because I don't think he's been available to us at all since the whole Panthers preseason game thing. And and I think that, did he not learn the lesson? Did he not snap into place? Yeah, that's possible. I think, but the thing is, listening to you, I think the overriding thing for me is I can't believe we're talking about this stuff with the New England Patriots after week one of the season. And let alone the next guy we're going to talk about, Trent Brown. I mean, this just sort of shows you where this team is right now and what sort of tenuous ground they are treading that, and I know a lot of people flash back to 2014. I was on Felger and Maz today. Some guys like, they got it straightened out in 2014 or whatever. And I just went off because it's not the same thing anymore. It's not even close. You don't have the same offensive line coach. You don't have the same coordinator. You don't have the same freaking quarterback. And but all of this stuff is going on now. Like it just seems, this isn't Lawyer Malloy, they hate their coach type of thing. It's, it's a different time. They had won a championship and things like that. It's just interesting that we're talking about all this stuff that sounds like dysfunction when you're talking about the New England Patriots in week one of the 2022 season.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not writing him off by any stretch. It's just, you're right. We're talking about these things right out of the gate. And a lot of these things, what will bug me the most, and I think we talked about this a few weeks back. If we, kind of look back at this season, we fast forward to say December, and we look back and we count out all the things like, okay, yep, offensive line wasn't great. Matt Patricia wasn't great. Joe Judge didn't quite work out. Mac Jones didn't develop the way we hoped he did. These are all things that we're not football experts, but these are all things we have been discussing for the past few months, saying, hey, if it doesn't work out, this is what it's going to look like. It's only 1 week, but it's to keep a running toll on what's going on. It really bugs me, the inconsistency. Like if you're going to praise Bill Belichick for his disciplinary ways and for drawing lines when you're winning, and then flip-flop because you're losing, it doesn't work that way. Bill Belichick's not going to walk in after doing this for 23 years in New England and say, hey, you know what, guys? Yeah, you're a little late to a meeting. Oh, well. Like, that's not – the dude is 70 years old. How many people that are 70 years old that you have known in your life change at 70 years old?
Right.
Like, Bill Belichick is who he is for better or worse. And sometimes being stubborn is good. Sometimes stubborn is bad. And we'll find out with this coaching staff if stubborn was good this time around.